First off, thank you so much for your interest in the Trading Freedom Pathway program that I offer at the site. My goal of this video is to give you a behind the scenes, an unboxing, whatever you want to call it, so that you can see exactly what you're going to get as part of the program. First thing first, and this is what I get quite a bit in terms of questions. Hey Clay, what makes you different compared to insert all these other people? And I don't know everybody out there, but I will say that what I believe makes me the most difference, assuming everybody else offers great programs, so I'm not gonna bash anybody else. I'm gonna say we all offer great stuff, but what still makes me different? Lifetime access. Everything you see here, you get for life. There's no monthly payments, there's no yearly payments, there is nothing. Once you are in, you are in. So that's what makes me different. And then, like I said, just keep that in mind as I go through everything. What you see is what you get, lifetime access. With all that being said, if I do leave something out or you're still unclear on something, then please leave a comment down below, reach out to me on social media, shoot me an email, clay@claytrader.com, and I'd be more than happy to clear up anything that you may have. But overall, let's get to it. And remember, everything you're about to see, lifetime access. Welcome to my desktop. At this point, I'm assuming that the investment has been made, so you've gone through the sign up process, and now you are just simply ready to access all the information and content that you have invested into. And that's where on the home page there, you're just going to go to that login button. So when you click that, this is where you will be taken to just enter in your username and password here. And as an FYI, this stuff is everything that you will be creating during the sign up process. So at this point, it's just a matter of remembering what it was. And once you get that entered in, hit the login button. And this is where you're taken to the dashboard page. And this is the most important thing, I should say, when you're brand new, the most important thing being right here, what order should you view the classes? Now, of course, I want you to watch the welcome video and I want you to, just get introduced to everything. But it's all about the order. It's all about the structure, because you can have all the, greatest content. You can have all the most accurate content, but if you watch it out of order, if you watch it randomly, then that's not going to do you any good. I mean, if let's say you want to learn about math, okay, and let's say you have all the right information about math, but then you go and learn about calculus before you learn about how to add, subtract, divide, multiply. That's not going to be a very pleasant experience. So sequence matters, structure matters, and I want you to know exactly what order you are supposed to be taking these courses and the classes. So that is what you can do right there. Click there and I'll have it, mapped out for you. First do this, then do this, and with kind of some explanations on why the order exists in the way it does. And as from a functionality standpoint, just the way everything operates. So if you want to access ClayTrader University, you could either click right there or you could click over here. But like I said, both places or both areas will take you to the same exact place. So let's just click here on ClayTrader University, and this is where you're going to get all the courses. Once again, can you see I'm big on sequence, I'm big on structure. So in case you missed it on the home page right there, it's again, what order should you view everything right up there. So as far as the classes are concerned, they're broken down into three areas. You have core principles, you have expanded markets, and then strategy building, and I'll show each one of those. But by default, you start right here on core principles, because these are the ones that you need to start off taking first. Well, what order do I take these? Well, I'm trying to make this as straightforward as possible. So those numbers right there tell you exactly what order you should be taking each one of these classes. Now, as far as each class works, so robotic trading is the default. You have the video, and then down below the video, you have all the videos within the class. So in this situation, and again, well, what order do I view the videos in the class? Just follow the numbers. There you go. And as far as how long each video is, well, you have times after each one. So if you're not quite sure, I don't know, do I have enough time to start one more? Well, then by, just looking at the time there, that'll help you gauge that. And then as far as, the number of videos, so for example, within the class of robotic trading, there are 27 videos, but that video number will, differ, and it depends on each class itself. But after you get done with that, then you just go through the sequence. After you get through the core principle sequence, this is where you get a little flexibility, and it's more so up to you in the sense of you can really take whatever you want based on your interests, based on what you're looking to do, and your situation. So maybe you're somebody that's saying, you know what, I work during the day and my schedule is pretty rigid. So in this situation, you could theoretically go to the expanded market, and then you could learn about trading Forex. because Forex markets have markets that are open at various times throughout the world, and the way it works. So that's just an example of how it could be. But my point is right now, notice that there are no numbers anymore, because this is not a situation of the order you need to take. It's just a situation of, hey, your personal preference. What are your goals? What do you enjoy? What are you more interested in? So in this situation, if you want to learn about options trading, you can do that. Maybe you're thinking about penny stocks, you can do that. Or as I already used an example, the Forex trading right there. So that is the expanded markets. And then strategy building is more so, all right, well, these are some actual strategies out there that you could potentially use. So as far as options, once again, but now you're getting into more of the advanced, strategies and such that you can use options for. And there's the options trading video diary, which is just a complimentary course to that one over there. And right here you have Grow Rich. This is my personal plan that I'm using to invest, and that's going to make me a millionaire. And I say that because I have history on my side and I have math on my side. And it's a situation where, yeah, as long as you're not expecting it to happen next week or overnight or even next year, then that strategy has been proven to work time and time again. So that's what I mean by history. All you got to do is look back at the history, and then all you got to do is take that history and plug it into the math. And the math says, yeah, if you do this, given enough time, you will be a millionaire. But the time part is the situation where, I mean, you just can't show up to it expecting it to happen, next year or anything like that. I mean, it is a retirement, is an investing long-term strategy. So that's what's within that course. And then trampoline trading and volcano trading, those are just a couple more strategies where I break down kind of the, step-by-step process of how each of those works. But again, each of these, it varies in length. So let's go to my investment one, Grow Rich. So right here we have this, and then of course down here you can see this is a shorter class. Only 13 videos in it because it's much more straightforward. It's just much more, so for example, right here, I just go through the selection process step by step. So of course, as always, got to talk about risk control. So you can get an idea. You got to know how to manage the process. So there's rules to manage it. And I go through all that step by step. And of course, you got to add fuel to the fire, right? So that'll be but those are the videos that you'll get within that. And then also some of these classes will come with course materials. Meaning there's things that, can be downloaded. So for example, this one, there is, a checklist. So yes, I go over things, and of course you're more than welcome to take notes, but in situations where there's rules, so right over here, or, checklist, I'll just put that stuff together and, map that out for you so that you have an exact idea of what to look for. And then some classes come with a living document, living being the keyword because things change, right? Technologies are always changing. Brokers are offering new services or new updates or whatever. So that document is something that just says, hey, as of right now, this is what's best. But if something changes, let's just say 6 months from when I do that, well, then I'll just go back in and update that document. So it's living, meaning it just stays up to date to, what is current, what matters, and, what is probably most beneficial and efficient to use with whatever's going on in regard to the, particular thing. So that is how that works. Not all classes are going to have, downloadable material. It just depends on the class itself. But the Grow Rich, yeah, there's rules, there's a checklist, and all that. So that is where that information is coming from. But again, that's how it works with the strategy building, expanded markets, and then core principles. But core principles is definitely where you would want to start. So let's go back to the dashboard. And the next part, let's just go to this real quick. So inner circle is going to be where the live chat room is and where my personal scans are, but I'm not going to do a deep dive into all of that. In fact, I just put a video down below and I do a behind the scenes tour of that because in theory, you could just invest into that separately. And, I'll get into more of that here in a little bit. But as far as, what you get, what it looks like I said, if you're curious in that, then you can watch that video. But if you're watching this video, you're probably more so interested in the classes. You're so more interested in, hey, I want it all. I want everything. So that's why, like I said, you can watch that video if you want, but my guess is that you're just more into it. You want to see the classes and all this other content that you get. So let's now hop over to the live guidance. And the live guidance is the area where you have the weekly live webinars. Now the webinars, I'm not going to tell you when they are. Well, I'll tell you when they are as the recording of this video, but I mean, if you're watching this video 5 years from now, they may not be the exact same day and time, or the structure may change a little bit. But as of right now, you can see that right here, the live sessions, the next one at least is in 3 days, 5 hours and 9 minutes. Once you sign up, all you got to do is click register now. And once you get registered for the webinars, so when I say register, I don't mean for anything else other than the webinars. That way you'll get emails and reminders and a link to actually join each of the classes. But yeah, right now they're on Tuesday evenings at 7 p.m. Eastern. But that may bring up a question. Well, I'm busy at that point, so I can't make them. Well, this is the other cool part, is if you come over here and you click view more, they're all recorded and placed into the archive so that you can go and view whatever one you want. And the other part that's very important, and I'll explain that in a second, is this description. The description is important. Well, I'll get to that here in just a second. But overall, right now there are, as of the recording of this video, 243. And each one is at least an hour long, at most probably like an hour and 10 minutes, but let's just call it an hour. So there is at least right now in webinar content alone, 243 hours of content. Now, very big point here. Am I saying that you need to view every single hour? No, this is all just complimentary stuff to those classes that we already talked about. These are all just, it's a support system. None of this is required. If you don't want to view any of these, that's fine. If you never want to attend one of the live sessions, one of the live webinars, that's fine. This is all just stuff where it boils down to kind of my business motto, my just really coaching, teaching motto is I never want to give anybody the possibility to accuse me of, hey, Clay, you really just didn't give enough examples. You know, you really just didn't provide enough support. I mean, yeah, the classes were great, but it would have been nice to have some additional support. It would have been nice to have some additional, just examples, some additional case studies. So that's what I'm doing with all of this. It is just support, but by no means it is a requirement. So I've had some people that say, Clay, I would, but I don't have time to go through hundreds of hours of webinar content, and I can totally understand that, but that is not a requirement. But it is here, for you to, have it as a support system or as a guidance system, which is why this is all called, the live guidance, because I want to make sure that you can't accuse me of not being able to offer up enough, guidance as you go through those classes. So that is how that all works. And the one big thing, and one of my favorite parts about this is, there we go. So once in a while, we'll have guests, and the guests are just fellow members. And just to show you kind of how, so if you were to click on this one, so that's how it appears. And for example, this one was an hour and 10 minutes. But when guests come on, they are fellow members, and they just talk about their trades. They talk about, hey, this is the strategy I'm using. Hey, this is what I was looking at. And we get a good variety. Sometimes people are showing up and they did some stupid things. But the great part is we're just all part of a community. We're all traders. We're not trying to be hot shots. We're not trying to be something that other than we're not. I mean, we just get it. And part of quote unquote it is, we're human beings. So we do stupid things. We make mistakes. Once in a while, emotions get to us. And that is one of these things that is shared here, where it is screen sharing. So they're walking us through what's going on. And sometimes it's, wow, that's very motivating because they get a great trade. Other times it's, I screwed up this part and it cost me some money. And there's always a learning opportunity, because it's a very cost-effective learning opportunity, right? If I can avoid losing a certain amount of money because somebody showed me and shared their experience in very great detail about a situation, well, that's a great cost savings. If I can just simply avoid losing money in the first place by learning from somebody else, that's a great thing, and that's what these interviews are getting. And they are group interviews, because assuming, of course, you show up live, but if you're there, then you can type up questions and such, and I'll ask the majority of the questions, but I'm always watching the chat box, and if questions arise, then I'll ask the person I'm interviewing, and that way it truly becomes a group interview where you are more than welcome to ask questions. Once again, of course, you got to be there live, but that's one of the great interviews, or that's one of the great part of these live webcasts is, and you can just go by. If maybe you're only interested in guest interviews, all you got to do is, scroll through things, and you can find all these which have the guest interview next to them. So let's go back to the home page, the dashboard, and now let's look at my video journal. So really the best way to kind of see what these are about is just looking at the titles. But to offer up a little context here is, maybe you've watched my videos on YouTube of me trading and you're thinking, Clay, why did you do that? What were you thinking? Why are you still holding? Why did you buy? Why did you sell? You don't tell me any of that. And that's a fair point. I fully admit that a lot of the videos on YouTube from the live trade, they are very broad. But this is where the exact opposite is true, because in these ones, I go into all the details and I will tell you why I'm buying, why I'm selling, why did I hold, why did I think the price was going to act in a certain way. And we'll just click on here, $400 in 10 minutes, all the details. So to illustrate this right here, this video, 21 minutes. So definitely a good chunk of time right there. But once again, yeah, they can be longer videos, but that's because I'm mapping out all my thoughts, all my theories, all my, I'm pretty sure it's going to act like this. And the reason I think it's going to act like this is because of this, that, and the other. And because I think it's going to act like this, I'm going to do this. So that's what I'm going through, and that's why those videos can tend to be longer, because literally am mapping out, all of my thoughts and documenting that. And so here's another one, $153. Explain. How long was this one? All right, so this one, shorter, 7 minutes. So they all are different in length. And I do these just spur of the moment. I mean, I can't say that I do one every single day or anything like that, but it's just a matter of, oh, wow, I think that there's a good opportunity for a learning lesson here, but you can see all sorts of other videos via the context. And once again, I mean, there are hundreds of these videos. Once more, does that mean you need to watch every single one of these? No. In fact, you don't need to watch any of these if you don't want to. This is all just a complimentary source. This is something to come alongside you and help guide you so that you can see exactly, what's going on. So right here, level 2 games, good example of, how level 2, sometimes there's some games. So that's just one of those situations where I noticed something on the level 2s and thought, oh, wow, this would be a great learning opportunity that's happening in real time. So I get out stuff and I fumble around and I get the video rolling and I just start talking about it. So a lot of these videos, some of them aren't the most professional because they're literally me just hurrying up to get a video rolling, getting the screen captured so I can start talking about it. But that's just kind of what happens in the heat of the moment, right? You got to move, and you got to move now to capture this stuff. So, if you're looking for like crisp, precise professionalism on these, then some of them, you're not going to get that because, like I said, I'm rushing just to get things in play. And I should have mentioned this at the very start, so I apologize, but your name would actually be up here. So it's a lot more personal than just TFP member. 1175, welcome to prison. It's nothing like that. Your name would be there, but this is just a dummy account that I'm using, so that's just why it says TFP member. I meant to say that at the start, but it is definitely personal. I truly do want to get to know you, and you are more than like some sort of prison number system to me. So on your screen, you would see your actual name there, just as a little clarification point. I don't want this to seem like you're just some sort of inmate or anything like that. So that is how those personal journey videos work. And again, as from a functionality standpoint, you could click on dashboard. What I'm going to do here is just click up on the logo, and that'll take you right back to the same spot. So there you are back on the dashboard. So let's see, we've gone through those. All right, so let's go through the column over here. So live guidance, we've already talked about that. Those are the webinars. Those are the classes. Inner Circle, as I've already talked, that's the live chat room and the newsletter and scans. But if you're curious on more of the behind the scenes tour of that, you can just watch the video down below. Right here is that weekly newsletter that is part of the Inner Circle. Here is the journal that we just went through, all those live trades. There is forums, so you can interact, although the main majority of the interaction is happening in the Inner Circle. But there are forums that are still there. I do offer one-on-one coaching, so that is where you would go to schedule a time slot. And then the scanner settings guide, this is one that I want to cover. So right here we have the guide, and then right here you're just looking at the table of contents. And this is important. This is a valuable document because a scanner is great, don't get me wrong, but look at a scanner as a GPS system. Okay, yeah, you have a GPS. Okay, well, what happens if you enter in the wrong quote-unquote settings to that GPS, the wrong address? Yeah, I mean, the GPS is still going to work. It's just going to take you to the wrong spot, right? So that's how scanners work is, yeah, you can have a scanner, and a scanner is important, but what are those settings you're actually entering into that scanner to produce results that you want? So that's what I go through here. I go through all of my favorite settings and such because, yeah, a scanner can get very overwhelming very quickly because you open up a scanner and you have all these settings and you can do all these combinations of settings, and I mean, like I said, it can literally get overwhelming in a hurry. But for this, I'll break down the settings that I've learned over my, decade of trading that work and that'll give you good, solid, tradable opportunities within the market. So that is part of that guide right there that you get. And then the last part is exclusive discounts. I do have a couple other sites. I have my personal finance site where I do all about more so personal finances and building wealth. And that's where I offer my real estate investing course. And then I also offer a health and fitness course because I love that stuff. I'm big into all of that. And I offer, so that's moneywithclay.com is the personal finance site, and then maintainthegains.com is my health and fitness site. But the point here being that you do get discounts that nobody else gets by being a member of this. So that is where you would find all that information. Unfortunately, I can't click on that because that would give away all the coupon codes. And then down there, pretty self-explanatory, you have manage your account, and then if you want to log out. And I'm not quite sure why I saved this for last, but it is what it is. And then we have the search box, and this is the most important and probably my favorite part of it. Now, the most important when you're brand new is making sure that you go through the right sequence, right? We talked about that. But after you figure out what order you're supposed to take things, the most powerful thing to use is that chat box. So for example, there's a lot of lingo that is used. And of course, this lingo is coming from the classes, but maybe hear a bit of lingo I've heard it, but I can't quite remember what exactly. So there's something we talk about known as wolf candles. So let's just say, you know what? Wolf candle. Let me just run a scan for wolf real quick. And what that's going to do is it's going to scan the entire site, including the free content. But in this situation, that would have been a little deceiving because that's not exactly what's being referred to. But like I said, from your point of view, you will know that right away because, you've been through the classes. But right here, it goes through. So right here, here's something from the journal, The Elusive Wolf. So that's exactly what's being talked about there. Right here, The Elusive Wolf. So right there, those two videos right away, you're going to know will help refresh your memory on what this wolf candle is. And more specifically, in this case, what is the elusive wolf? And then down here, you also have situations where here are all the past webinars. So you could go and skip right to, episode 197 talked about a wolf. Episode 217, we talked about a wolf. And the point being that, yes, there's lots of content, but that search box can quickly just weed through all the content and find you exactly what you're looking for. So maybe you're saying, okay, a lot of people keep talking about these grandma numbers and how grandma numbers are so important. So let me just run a scan for a grandma number. And once again, that's going to show you all the situations where grandma numbers have been talked about. So there's something from one of the case study journal videos. You scroll down some more and you can see that there's some areas where, it was talked about in episode 199, it was talked about, and you can come down here. There's lots of places where grandma numbers have been talked about. And, you can scroll all the way down here and there's dates, which is kind of crazy to think. As of right now, the recording of this video is 2019, but to think that I was, doing these live webinars back in 2015. So on that note, this is not some sort of fly-by-night operation. I've been around for a long time now, and I'm not going to go anywhere. I love this stuff. It's fun. But yeah, right there, kind of crazy. Have a little moment here. But yeah, 2015, and I've been doing this, and the place has been around since 2013. But yeah, so that's how that works. And very, very powerful to have all those features for yourself, right at your fingertips in the sense of just run the scan or run the search for what you want, and you're going to have access to everything right there. So that is what you get. That is everything that is included. And the one thing, as always, that I know I've talked about, but hey, Clay, what makes you different? And what makes you different than, insert blank of somebody else. So let's just do this because I'm not going to badmouth any companies. Let's just assume that the other person, the other people, whatever you're looking at, they're great. They offer a great service. And I also offer a great service. So in other words, we are all great. So we're all on equal footing there. Okay, Clay, yeah, everybody's great. But what makes you different? And what makes me different is everything we just went through, you get lifetime access to. Nothing expires. There's no ongoing payments. There's nothing. You get access to it all for life. And that is what makes me different. And I'm not going to say everybody because I can't sit here and say that I know everybody's pricing structures, but I can say that I know a lot of pricing structures, and I know a lot of people either offer up yearly charges or monthly charges. And that is just what makes me different. I don't. Everything you just saw, you get access to for life, including that inner circle. Now, if you were to choose to just do the inner circle separately, there is an ongoing payment because that's a subscription service. So if all you do is the inner circle, then you will have ongoing payments over and over again. But the inner circle comes with the Trading Freedom Pathway program, which is what we talked about here. So therefore, the inner circle subscription service to you becomes a lifetime membership. So that is what makes me different. That is what makes this entire program different. Is it's lifetime membership, and you get a bunch of content. And again, you don't need to go through all the content because there's probably by this point, got to be at least 500 hours of content. But that search box is powerful, and the classes, those core principles are the main focal point. And then from there, the majority of other stuff is just there to complement you, to offer up some guidance as you go, just as complementary type functioning. If there are any other questions, or if I missed something, or you still need something clarified, then please just get a hold of me in any way that makes it possible. Social media, reach out to me through the site. If you're watching this on YouTube, just in the comment section down below. But reach out to me, ask me any questions you have. I'd be happy to clarify anything that you need. And if not, then I look forward to working with you. I look forward to guiding you. And let's get to it. Get signed up.